Hello everybody, welcome to the first video on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the next Canadian election. So for those that don't know, now former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has been gone for officially about a week now, and our new Prime Minister Mark Carney has all but announced, it's not official, I think it's going to be official tomorrow, but basically we're going to have an election on April 28th. So, now when you look at the polls, it does have Carney in the lead right now. Now, I'm just going to break this down quickly for two reasons why I think this is temporary. One, this is exactly what happened to states when Joe Biden dropped out and Kamala Harris took his place. She was leading Trump for the first while, then she lost her momentum. These pages right here, these are previous elections, and I'm going to briefly go through them quickly. 1984, Pierre Trudeau resigns as he's looking to lose in a landslide. Then, John Turner's Prime Minister, he leads briefly. Then, his lead goes down. 1993, Kim Campbell becomes Prime Minister. Then she leads. Then she loses a landslide. In fact, she got 2 seats. 2011, Michael Ignatieff. He was elected May 2nd, 2009. Let's look at the polls and let's go back that far. Look at that. Leading. Let's scroll down here. Yep. He was leading by not much more than what Mark Carney's currently leading by. So obviously, Mark Carney is calling this election fast to profit off of this lead. Now, there is signs, even when you look at these margins, it is starting to peak. And when you even go into Canada 338, let's go there quickly. And let's just look at the polling. Let's scroll down here. See, look. Now, I know this is over. Now, I know usually the intervals are like a week. And I know, as we're getting to election, I know Canada 338 does tend to update daily when, there's a chance that election's about to be called, or when there's 99% confirmation of election being called. They do tend to do daily ones. And even when you look at this, Poilievre is starting to gain in seats again. So he's plateaued. So now he's starting to increase. So I don't think we'll be expecting too much change over the next week. Well, it might see slight changes, but as we really get into campaign season, I think things will really start changing. And I know there's an unreleased poll that has not been in the algorithm, that has not been the aggregate yet, but I don't know why it's not in there, to be honest. I think it's kind of stupid, but anyways, so there's a lot of strong arguments I have to believe that this is temporary, and I do think Poilievre will probably win the landslide. Now, there's another few reasons. So Poilievre has been pivoting a lot over the last 2 to 3 days. Now, one thing that I think is really going to help Poilievre in the coming weeks is Trump's interview on Fox News a few nights ago, in which he basically said that he'd rather work with a liberal than a conservative. Now, Trump all basically just endorsed Mark Carney. Now, in Canada, Trump is not very well liked here, obviously. And Canada is one of those countries that our politics is based on not being the U.S. So a U.S. president such as Trump, they really don't like Trump especially. So when Trump endorsed a candidate, people kind of tend to vote against that candidate that's endorsed. So meaning, I do feel there's going to be a lot of people that will turn away from Mark Carney and maybe vote for Poilievre. The other thing is, the other factors for Carney is that, and I haven't even brought this up, but I do think it's a good point to bring up, he's a very weak leader. He's a very weak candidate. He is very low energy. He makes low energy Jeb Bush look energetic. He does more than just please clap. And Mark Carney, he stutters. Not as bad as Trudeau, admittedly, but he stutters quite a bit. And all the Conservatives need to start doing is just put those clips, put the Trump interview together, and then ask the question, who'd you trust to deal with Trump? Pierre Poilievre or Mark Carney? And that'll make voters think. And the thing is, of course Trump's going to want, Carney, because Poilievre will challenge him a bit when it comes to trade policy. And I do honestly, in my opinion, believe, I obviously do like Poilievre a bit. Now, I will get to where I did, up until recently, had a bit of issues with him in a second. Now, the thing about Poilievre, I am convinced that when he becomes prime minister, or if he does, let's say if, it's not a guarantee, I do think these tariff problems will be fixed very quickly. Now, I know there's going to be a bit of I know Poilievre's going to make it a bit challenging for a little bit, but I do think these problems will be fixed, because think about it. Trump's main issues are the border and fentanyl. And I know Poilievre's are going to fix these problems very fast. Poilievre's are going to be like, and let's get to the borders actually. Because Poilievre, over the last few days, has really pivoted the campaign. Now, he hasn't been talking about carbon tax anymore. He has not been talking about the carbon tax recently. And when you go down here, he's been asked about, I'm not going to play the clip. I know a lot of people have seen this, but basically Mark Carney hired an advisor from the Century Initiative, in which they want Canada to have a population of 100 million by 2100, as you can see there. And Poilievre has been really getting hardline immigration the last few days. Now, up until recently, Poilievre was very wishy-washy on the issue, and this is where I was getting worried for Poilievre, and I was getting really concerned. Now, Poilievre, admittedly, I will admit, I did think he was a good, charismatic candidate, and I did like him a lot. I think he's a very good debater. But the thing is, I'll be honest, I do think he's a bit cringe on some of the social issues. Admittedly, he's actually come around very well, specifically on issues like gender theory and mass immigration. He's saying stuff like globalist. I mean, I'll give Poilievre this. Even when he first ran for leadership, he even went so far to say that he's going to ban his members from attending WEF summits. Which, I mean, that's a green flag in my opinion. So, now, I do think some of these projections, are kind of overestimating Carney a bit. Because especially when you go to the Quebec numbers. Because I don't think the Bloc Québécois are falling so much in Quebec. Now, the other problem that Mark Carney has in Quebec is that his French is quite terrible. And Pierre's French is quite decent. Now, Quebec doesn't like conservatives very much. And to be fair, I do think the Bloc is kind of their equivalent of the... I mean, from what I know, the Bloc Québécois, for the most part, are... I mean, honestly, when it comes to the immigration issue, Yves-François Blanchet of the Bloc Québécois was the main guy that was really going at Poilievre for not being hard enough on the issue. So, I mean, you know what I mean? If he's the one, so yeah, that tells me that Poilievre is, I do think Yves-François Blanchet's not, I mean, I'd rather the Bloc duel in Quebec. Now, I will say this. Another thing that I do think is going to be similar to the whole Harris-Trump situation is that I do believe that Carney, when all these changes happen, here's the thing. I do expect polls to turn around starting this week, and it won't be long before Conservatives are about 10, maybe even 15 points ahead. And the reason, I mean, look how fast, let's go back. Look how fast it took the polls to even, it wasn't even 2 weeks for the polls to get this much. What do you think 3 weeks will do? And then, here's the thing. Mark Carney is going to have to debate Poilievre. He has no choice. It's not like Trudeau where he can avoid it. And let's be honest, we all know if Trudeau ran, he would avoid debates. He would have avoided debating Poilievre. Carney has to debate him. And Carney, as I said, he's a bad speaker, he stutters, and he's a terrible debater. Which... this plays into Poilievre's hands a lot more than some people might think. But, now, admittedly, I will say Carney, anyway, does have a bit more appeal than Trudeau. I will admit that. As a conservative guy, I will say Carney. Listen, I'll admit, I have a conservative bias, but I will try to be as objective as I can. So, at least give me credit where it's due. At least I try. So, anyways, I do think Carney, I'll admit, Carney was pivoting away from Trudeau's post-national sentiment. Well, what happened the other day is not helping his case. But, I mean, in his first press conference, he's saying that Canada's a proud British identity. Which, admittedly, good start. Now, I will say this, though. Carney, overall, because he's a new face to the Liberal Party, and he's not the very extremely disliked leader, I do think that he's probably, just like Trump and Harris, as I said, he's not going to lose, as badly as Trudeau would have. I mean, if you go down here when Trudeau resigned, Poilievre was going to beat him by 201 seats. Right? I don't think that's going to happen with Carney, to be really, that's a 25-point win. I do think you're probably going to see margins, up here, about, see the margins around here. I feel like you're going to get more of this. And if you scroll down, and I scroll down here, so that's about I don't know if Poilievre is going to get 200 seats. He might poke 200, but I don't see him getting 220 or anything like that, to be honest. But 180, 190. Now I know some. Now admittedly this video was a bit all over the place, but in fairness, this is the first video on the channel, and the news cycle changes literally by the hour. I will do a bit more videos covering a bit more of this as the days go on. I just basically want to summarize what I think is going to happen. And, yeah. So, and I'll do other videos as well, of course. I don't plan on only covering politics. I do plan doing other topics in the future as well. It's just as you come to election season, So, that's been it from me today. And, if you have any ideas on what I should do or what topics I should talk about, please let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and yeah. So that's been Base Hibernian, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.